So I'm going to introduce Tony Gill. He's Managing Director of Polestar Productions.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you can hear me. The plan is really to let some of the visuals tell the tale, because this is a very visual product. So, there we go. Another dimension, taking projection out of its straitjacket. Okay, can you hear me now? Another thing to juggle with. Yeah, very much about taking projectors out of their straitjacket, making them not monodirectional, and actually giving creatives a new creative tool and an alternative way of doing things. Okay, so I'm going to let the visuals tell the tale. The ability to move projection dynamically around within an arc which is about 180 degrees by 162 degrees. Some of you will have seen this and not realised how it was created. It was created using a single projector. So these are just some few examples of what it's about. Okay. Come on. So, just before we get down to that, just a little bit of background about us. Polestar Productions was created by me about 27 years ago. We started as a very much full-service production company, and in that period we've morphed into a specialist projection company doing projection mapping, holographic mapping, various other techniques, and it was because of that that we actually got involved with the dynamic system, because we were asked to use it by a client, used it and went, wow, this is really clever, how do we get hold of it? And the result was that we actually found that there was no representation in this country. So what is dynamic projection? Well, it's pretty much what it says. It is this ability to place a high accuracy mirror in front of the projector and then under ArtNet control to actually move the content around the space. So again, what you're seeing here is the mirror moving under accurate control and if you've actually been past our stand round the corner, you will have seen a spaceman floating around and various aliens moving about purely under control of an ArtNet feed. Right. Now this one I'm repeating it because literally you can, if you look, actually see the frame. And the clever thing about this was that the animation is done conventionally as a 3D animation, and what the system is doing is actually enabling that animation to be presented in a space where if you used what I would call conventional techniques, you couldn't have actually done it because the audience would have been outside in the street. But what happens is the animation covers the frame and then the frame moves forward to actually allow the animation to continue. On this occasion, the whole space was actually mapped in Cinema 4D, and then the animation created, and the dynamic system allowed us to actually then enable that to be presented using a single projector. So, excuse this, shall we say, slightly Star Trek reference. Yeah, it's projection, but not as we've come to get used to it. The system is manufactured in Austria to a very, very high standard. The level of engineering is extremely good. It has an accuracy from point to point with an error ratio of less than 0.1%. And it actually also has a speed where we can traverse from one end of its movement to the other in 3 seconds. Very highly engineered, ideal for touring situations. It is literally designed to be a little bit bomb-proof because it's obviously going to be used in some very interesting situations. It has its own software package available, so if you're doing small installations or small live shows, there is a complete program which both controls the mirrors and delivers the content and deals with any mapping, which is suitable for 1 or 2 projectors, which enables permanent installations or simple installations where that control is then given to a lighting desk, and so you can integrate small rigs. We have got some interesting news over a new integration that we're doing. We run workshops and familiarisation sessions for people that are interested in using the system, most on a demand, where people actually get the opportunity to have a hands-on interaction with the equipment to understand what you can do with it. It's usable in a whole range of situations. This was a setup that was done for Optima. It has the accuracy to be able to sustain multi-projector blends and actually then take those blends apart and put them back together again. There are mountings available, which means you can floor mount the equipment, truss mount it, wall mount it. This is when we took it to Plaza. This literally was 6 weeks after we actually introduced the system into this country. That's a DZ21K, a 21,000 lumen projector. So, 6 impossible things before breakfast. Primarily, it's a new form of storytelling. Doesn't seek to replace conventional projection mapping. It actually seeks to give creatives an alternative approach, or an approach which means that if you're in a situation where either for monetary considerations or physically inability to get multiple projectors in place, you now have an alternative which you can use to give clients a creative solution that might have otherwise meant that they either didn't complete an event or in some cases downgraded the event and didn't meet their creative aims. Usage: museums, point of sale, retail, shows, clubs, events. Really, when it comes down to potential applications, it's only driven by your own creative imagination. So again, let me just for a little second shut up, let you have a look at the video. It's been used in a whole range of environments. Development on the product actually started about 14 years ago, and it's been out in the wider market for some 6 to 7 years. So in terms of road testing, it's had thousands of hours of actual real-life usage. Some people may or may not remember a company called Catalyst. They actually attempted to do this back in the mid to early 80s. Unfortunately, then the technical landscape was against them. There are one or two other solutions out there, or there were. There pretty much now is only one, which is the Barco system. I'm not going to say any more than that. No intention of making any comment about relative capabilities. We've got them in boardrooms. That's actually, we've used them for car launches. And this one, in all fairness, is one of the latest projects that's been done with it. Did you want to take a still photo? Don't worry, come and see me down on the stand. This is all outdoor things that are done with it. We're literally done with a 30,000 lumen projector, and then again the boardroom installations. Now that project, if you'd used traditional projection mapping, couldn't have taken place because there literally was nowhere that you could have put the equipment. And that was actually achieved using 2 projectors. Now this is King Sprong. That is a 90-metre high tower. Using conventional techniques, that would have taken multiple projectors to have got him climbed up the tower. That was achieved using 1 projector, literally in landscape format. If you want a 30-foot high Pikachu on a skyscraper, museums and exhibitions obviously are a fertile ground for potential use of the system. And to finish off, that was literally the event that caused us to become involved. We were actually providing conventional mapping for a small car launch, and our client, as I say, said, could we use this equipment, which we found out about, and from that point onwards we were hooked on the technology, and that was what actually caused us to get involved and bring it into this country. So how much does it cost? The nitty-gritty. I'm going to come down and I'm afraid I'm going to pull the usual trick. If the slide will go forward. No, go back. How long is a piece of string? It really does depend on the scale of your event, but I'm going to give you a high-end example. The DZ31000 projector currently in the UK is retailing around about 80 to 90 grand. The mirror that fits that is £6,000. So as a proportion of the cost of the projector, if you're in a situation where it's either 1 projector and a mirror or 2 projectors, the capital cost advantage is obvious. And in a lot of cases, the other element is it may be that you can't get 2 30,000 lumen projectors physically into the project. So the mirror gives you the alternative. It also is interesting that one of the biggest problems that there is in a live show form is the thing of the perennial argument between lighting and video, of the lighting designer saying, I'm having to compromise my design for the projection, and the projection designer saying, you're washing out my video. Because we can now move and concentrate the pixel brightness and the pixel density, we can fully involve it in the design. So one of the main planks of that argument has actually now been, if not removed, reduced in impact. The other thing we've got, and this is one of the things that excites us in terms of where do we go from here, is actually the ability to start considering video content as video as being a light source. So in other words, the ability to actually physically move a video image and treat it as light as part of the production, and using various tracking technologies actually have the video content track the performer. Now, where do we go from here? The answer is we look for opportunities to integrate the system into control systems so that we can present larger shows. As a result of something that's actually been launched at this show, the third image to appear, Green Hippo, we now have an operating integration with the Green Hippo server system, which means that we can actually deploy, pre-visualize and integrate Mirrorhead systems into their server system, which actively means that we can now pursue projects which until now would have been difficult, and it means that deploying multiple mirrors in a range of different types of events is now perfectly possible. We're also working alongside Green Hippo in terms of the integration with Blacktracks, which means that the thing I spoke of earlier of actually tracking performers with video content is now a reality. And inevitably, and I have to say this is a little bit of, we've got one person on side, which is that end of the line, and we believe in due course that the other end of the line, disguised D3 as was, who have already done some work with it, but it's not yet fully integrated. Integrations for those kinds of systems will actually become available. So another dimension, as we said, taking projectors out of their straitjackets. No longer are we looking at a projector as a device which is only capable of being pointed at one object, or something whereby projection mappings, when you tell the client what the average deployment cost is likely to be, the only sound you hear is the feet running away because they can't afford it. We now have an active, creative opportunity to offer them an alternative. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been informative. I'm quite happy to take questions. I would also suggest, if you would like a bit more of an in-depth discussion, walk round the corner, come and have a physical look at the equipment. It's actually on our stand and operating. Thank you very much, and if anybody's got any questions, be happy to answer them. Silence. As I say, if you really would like to see the equipment, come round, have a look. You can actually have a little bit of a play. We've got a MIDI interface working. Yes? Do you have a rental scheme? We do. Both. At this moment in time, it's predicated on wet hire, because obviously there are things you need to know about the use of the system. And so what we tend to do is say we would like to integrate ourselves into a production team to provide the specialist infrastructure that means you're, as a creative or as a production company, you're actually going to get the best out of the project. We're not in the business of giving you a box and going, good luck.
And can you give us some examples of where the tech's been used effectively?
Well, effectively the ones you've actually seen.
What kind of events are they?
You're talking about a range of events from art installations. We actually have a long-term art installation running at the store at the moment, which is actually the third time it's been used. We've just done another outdoor installation for a special event in Derbyshire. We use it on a range of special events. We're currently working with a fairly high-level music act. At this stage, I can't say who they are.
Come on.
Can't, I'm afraid. They're looking at deploying multiple mirrors. That really is what's created the integration moves with Hippo. They're looking at using it in their Shape Masterclass, which they run every year, to actually train people. Because we can pre-visualize in 3D, we can now actually introduce it as a usable system. Exhibitions, we've got 3 or 4 exhibitions going in. It will be going to ISC again in February. We've got 2 brand activations which we're actually planning at the moment. Again, can't say an enormous amount. The problem is we get into a situation with these things of people going, right, it's embargoed, you can't say anything till next week. We have just issued Hippo we've got a video we've just made of the art installation in London. That I de-embargoed that at 9 o'clock yesterday morning, so that will be going out. There will be various press releases going out. Fine.
Excellent. And just a reminder, what stand are you on? What number?
418. Literally just round the corner.
Go and have a chat.
Look for the floating alien, turn round, and there we are. Thanks very much for coming.
Thanks again.